Untitled. I'm doing some watercolor techniques. First, some mixed media pieces. So here's an example of something that I do. I take my wire embellishments that you can use for scrapbooking or ornaments, and I put them on a watercolor background for greeting cards. I tape it down first, so when I actually take the tape off, it makes a nice little border around like that, which is really cool. So then I can mount it. After I've done that, what I do is I would take a greeting card. Here's a blank card from Michael's. So I would just take the blank card, the blank greeting card. It comes with envelopes, and then I would adhere that on top. But what I always do is put like a wire embellishment on it as well. So I'll show you that after. And so now let's go ahead and do a few different designs for backgrounds. And one of my favorite ones is just a very simple kind of foresty looking one. And so for that one, I could just like get some paint. Oh, here, let me pull this down so you guys can see it. So just get like a little bit of paint, kind of bleeding it around like this. This is going to be super simple, guys. So we're just going to get a little paint like that and then get another color. Okay, and we just bleed them in together. Okay, doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to bleed it in together a little bit. And then maybe I'll get some, I have a nice kind of earthy green. So I'm just going to get that. That's over at my other end of my palette. So I'm just going to grab a little bit of the earthy green, and you want a decent, I'm going to bring it over to show you. So you're just going to bring that over, get a little bit of the green, and then we're just going to bleed it in this a little bit more. So I'll get a little bit more. And I like this palette because it's very portable. Like I went down to Costa Rica one year and I used the, I brought the palette with me, which was really cool. So you see, this is very, very straightforward and simple. We do a little bit, maybe I'll do a little bit of dark color to contrast it a little bit. Okay, in there. And I don't really have sort of a specific kind of technique with this, except that you just use plenty of water. So the colors bleed in together. Okay, so we'll just do maybe a little bit more. And then what I'm going to do is let that dry, let them bleed in together, and then I'm going to do something with that after. And then what I want to do is one of the watery scenes to show you guys. So Carrie says, thank you for showing this newbie different ways to make beautiful art projects. Awesome. I'm happy that you're enjoying it because I have a lot of fun with this. So to do my underwater scene, let me bring this down a little bit. I'm a little low on my yellow. Ooh, that's too bad. I should have brought more yellow over here, but I'll do what I can. Don't have a lot of yellow, so I'm just going to kind of loosen up my yellow here. Okay. And let me just bring that. So to do my underwater, this one's a little dirty, but I'll just make do with what I have. I'm going to go like that. I'm going to actually prep my alcohol, bring it near here so it's ready, because I will be using that. And then we're going to get some of our different colors. I'm just going to wet them on the palette so they're ready, because sometimes with the watercolor you have to work super quickly. So we'll just get a little bit of the blue. Okay, so if we just go through a little bit of the blue, and then this is going to be like the seabed. So I'm going to just leave a little bit amount there. Okay, and then a little bit of the darker blue. Okay, we'll go from that. Not too much water, but enough that that it's you know, it flows well, and that it's not too dark, not too light. So we're gonna go around like that. Hopefully that's the right amount. Even though I've been doing watercolor for a lot of years, sometimes I don't always get the right amount of water in it. So I do what I can. So this is just like a quick way to do the water, and then you get the alcohol and you can do like bubbles. It works best if you kind of like flick it down, kind of like that. I did have a like a kind of a how do you say, like a dropper that works well too. Sometimes like a little dropper works well. So it gives, you'll see it just gives like little kind of bubbly effects like that. Gives it a nice texture. Okay, so that's, maybe I did too many, but that's not too bad. So there we go. And Brenda says, this is beautiful. Thank you. I have a lot of fun with it. So here's sort of the basic water part. And then for the bottom, what I want to do is a little bit of the saran wrap and the sand technique. So I'm going to get a fresh piece of saran wrap because that one got a little bit dirty. You can reuse it if you want. Okay, so, and then you get the saran wrap ready, and then this is going to be like sort of the sea bed. So what I want to do is start doing some little areas of the color, and this is like sort of a burnt umber and an ochre. So that's ochre in there. Okay, we're going to get a little bit of that, and then some dark. You want a bit of dark too. And I'm trying to work quite quickly. Okay, I'm not looking at the comments for now, but I will definitely look back at them. Sometimes it's good to throw in a little, you know, other colors, like a bit of red, and then I will put in a little bit of green too. Okay, we'll get a little bit of green. And then after, I'm going to put some seaweed. I'm going to let it dry a little bit. So we're just going to get a few of these colors in here, a little bit of green. And you really don't want too much of the white showing, maybe a little bit more dark, because you do need a little contrast for this. Okay, so if we do this, so maybe what I'll do is just to see what kind of textures we can get, I'm going to put a little bit of sand to one side, and then I'm going to scrunch it with the saran wrap. So I'll just get a little bit of sand here, and then I'm going to get the saran wrap. Okay, we're going to get the saran wrap and squish it in. So this is one design I have. I have another design that's like more like a beach scene with a kind of a sunset type of thing. And I think I put some of them in the Wire Art and Jewelry Makers Club. I think I put like a little album of some of the mixed media cards I've done in there, so you can get an idea. And I actually sell cards like this at the Viva Vita Art Gallery in Point Claire. So maybe under this video I'll link up the website to that gallery, and you can get an idea of some of the other stuff I do. So let's just let this, now we have to let it dry a little bit. So we're just going to leave that like that and leave that to dry. So these are kind of some two basic kind of backgrounds that you can do. And then another background that I do is actually, can we get the whole thing in? I'm going to flip it around. So we're going to go flip it around. And my favorite color, well, it's not even a color. My neutral favorite color is called, what's it called? It's not sepia, it's Payne's Gray. So this one here, it's called Payne's Gray. And often I'll use that just as a plain kind of background. So what I'm going to do is I'll show you how I do one like that with the Payne's Gray. If I had a spray bottle, I would use that as well, because you can get some cool techniques with it. But something that I do with that is, oh, I have a couple comments. Jill says, hi, glad I didn't miss you. Hey, Jill, how are you? And Peggy says, do you ever paint rocks? I have painted rocks before, but not for quite a while. So now I'm just going to grab some of the Payne's Gray, which I guess best would be described as sort of a bluish gray. And so what I could do for that, just to do a very kind of abstract background. I don't know how many of you guys like abstract art, but I love anything that's abstract. So if I just kind of do a couple of things like that, so you can just play with it. So I just put on some wet paint, and then now I'm just going in with water. I'm just going in with water, and just to do some cool effects. Okay, I'm just pulling the paint over a little bit. And you can also get kind of a spray bottle and play around with that. So there's all kinds of cool things you could do. And then you can go in and get more paint if you want. Oh, now it's bleeding in from my other painting below, but that's okay. Sometimes you just, if you make little mistakes, you just kind of go with it. So that can happen too. It's just experimenting. So it's very meditative. I don't know how many of you have actually tried watercolor, but it's super fun, and you just play with it. It's kind of like sitting and playing with a lump of clay. You know, you really can do some really cool things with it. So you're just going in and letting the colors kind of play around and go all over the place. And then if you want, you can add, like, another one of the colors I like is sort of a magenta color. So if you want to add a little bit of subtle color, you can go in and add a little bit of the magenta. And sometimes it might get a little muddy, but you just don't know until you try. So the best idea is just to play around with it at first and see what you come up with. And then just play. And like I said, even though I've been doing this a long time, sometimes things work out better than others. You know, they don't always work out, and sometimes it looks kind of bad when you're actually painting it, and then when it dries and when you get the paint or the tape taken off, then it can look really good. So this is just like, that's what you call abstract. Like, that's totally abstract, but it's fun, you know, it's something a little different. And then we'll see how it looks when the tape actually comes off. And if you have areas that are too dark, you can actually go in with your brush or with a piece of paper towel and pick up some of the colors. So if you find it got too dark, you want to pick up a little bit of the extra, you could definitely go in and do that. You know, the tree is a little bit of an advanced project, but there's definitely, you could do some simpler designs. Like, for example, this one with the music note, it's quite a simple design. Like, there's a lot of possibilities you can do with this kind of technique. So we would have, the tree could go on there, and then what I do is I just buy double-sided tape, and or sometimes I'll even use hot glue in a pinch if I need to, and then you just put the double-sided tape on the back. I think this one I just got at the dollar store. It's not the best one, so sometimes you can get some double-sided tape tabs at Michael's that are better, but just for the sake of showing you guys, I'll show you. So we just put it on here on the card. I usually sign my work just with a pencil in the bottom. This one too, you could bend it a bit if it's not holding in place. So I would just sign the bottom like that. And then I print up these little tickets. They're just address labels that I get at Business Depot. And then we just I put Art Cards by Heather Boyd. So I just take that off and put it on the back. And this comes with an envelope. So there we go. So we have that one. So here's the one that we did with the underwater. So we'll take that one off. Okay, just remove the tape. And yeah, so the underwater one is really fun. Okay, tape's on the other side. And when you take the tape off, you always pull it away from the card. Okay, so there's the underwater one. And then the one that's more abstract, we'll do the same. We'll just take that tape off, okay? And yeah, normally I would blow dry it just to get it thoroughly dry before I take the tape off, because you don't want it to be all warped. And then so here is the one with the sort of very abstract watercolor, and there's the one with the bubbles. And unfortunately I took the tissue or the what do you call it, saran wrap off a little bit too early. But what you can see in like this one I've done previously, when you keep the saran wrap on, it makes these very distinctive lines, which is really super cool.